Hey everyone, welcome back. So today we're diving into an explainer on a truly fascinating and honestly kind of terrifying mystery. Have you ever wondered how brilliant, totally rational individuals can just lose their minds the second they join a crowd? Like, why do smart people suddenly act completely out of character when they're surrounded by a group? Well, that's exactly what we're looking at today. We're going to break down the invisible machinery of mass influence that's operating around you literally every single day.
Okay, let's jump right into this historical puzzle. It was first documented in a major way during the bloody, chaotic collapse of the Russian Empire. Just imagine it, a whole country descending into utter chaos in a matter of months. Millions perishing, cities in ruins, and completely educated, sensible citizens suddenly destroying libraries and violently turning on their own neighbors. A Russian scientist named Vladimir Bekhterev actually watched all this unfold, and he was haunted by one massive question. How on earth does this happen? How do intelligent people just morph into a mindless mob?
To find out, Bekhterev spent 4 grueling years studying riots, people waiting in theater lines, stadium crowds, you name it. And by 1921, he published Collective Reflexology, where he laid out the universal laws of the crowd. But here's the crazy part. This century-old timeline maps flawlessly onto the digital manipulation we're dealing with today. I mean, from the ancient Colosseum to TikTok, or from historical political rallies to modern social media algorithms, these exact same rules still run the show.
So here's the roadmap for our explainer today. We're going to start with the concept of the crowd organism, then look at the 3 laws of control, how manipulators are manufacturing the mob, strategies for defending your mind, and finally, we'll wrap up with the power of creation.
All right, let's kick things off with part 1, the crowd organism. You know, it's a pretty scary realization that you could gather 10 absolute geniuses in a crowd, and together they'll often make completely average, primitive decisions. Bekhtérev's first massive discovery was that a crowd isn't just, a simple math equation of adding people together. No, it acts as a totally separate living organism. It actually has its own mind, and that mind is way more primitive and dangerous than the mind of any single individual in it. When you're in a group, collective intelligence just absolutely plummets. And the crucial mechanism driving this drop in intelligence is something called mutual suggestion. So whether you're nodding along to a terrible idea in a corporate meeting just because everyone else is, or you're desperately chasing likes online, our brains automatically copy the pack. Why? Because historically, sticking with the pack meant survival. It happens completely without your conscious participation. Your brain is just naturally mimicking the emotions and reactions of the people around you. And honestly, social media amplifies this perfectly. When you feel that rush of euphoria from getting likes, or the sting of shame from a critical comment, that is driven entirely by this ancient unconscious group reflex.
Moving right along to Section 2, the 3 laws of control.
Okay, let's unpack these 3 laws because they dictate human behavior practically everywhere. First up, we have emotional infection. This basically means that feelings spread instantly, like wildfire. One panicked person can infect an entire room in seconds. Second, there's decreased critical thinking. This is the immediate suspension of analytical logic. It totally explains why incredibly smart people can fall for cults or obvious scams when they're surrounded by cheering fans. And third, leader imitation. Crowds will automatically latch on to a dominant, confident figure and subconsciously just start copying their gestures, their words, and even their thoughts.
To put that first law into perspective, just think back to the start of the pandemic. It's a perfect real-world example of emotional infection. One person fills up their shopping cart with toilet paper out of pure panic. Someone else sees them and thinks, wait, they must know something I don't. And boom, instantly, that single person's fear infects thousands. It completely bypasses all objective logic, leaving entire store shelves completely empty, even when there was literally zero rational reason for a shortage. Crazy, right?
That brings us to Section 3, manufacturing the mob. This is where things get a bit dark. Manipulators use this exact psychological framework to merge you into a controllable collective by hijacking your emotional state. Bekhterev called this artificial collectivization. Basically, it's the deliberate, conscious design of environments and situations to trigger those primitive crowd reflexes we just talked about. The goal? It's simple, really, to break down your individual identity and mold you into just another obedient piece of a compliant mass. And they typically use 4 distinct methods to pull this off. First, they create false unity. Think forced singing, team-building chants, or political slogans to make you feel like, hey, we're all on the exact same page.
Second is emotional arousal, using flashing lights, rhythmic sounds, and extreme hype to push you to an emotional peak where you're super receptive to commands. Then they use false authorities. These are incredibly confident people tossing around scientific jargon to sound like experts, which completely bypasses your critical thinking. But pay super close attention to the fourth one, information isolation. This is where modern algorithms literally trap you. They only show you content that confirms your existing worldview, creating the ultimate digital echo chamber.
So the huge takeaway here is that fake gurus, scammers, and propagandists don't actually need real logic or real success to win you over. They just need to manufacture the feeling that everyone else already approves of them. They might use bots, fake testimonials, whatever it takes. Because once your brain perceives that mass approval, your critical thinking just instantly shuts down, and that mutual suggestion we talked about takes over the steering wheel entirely.
All right, so how do we fight back? Let's get into Section 4, defending your mind.
If algorithms and influencers are using century-old psychology against us, we need a game plan. Here are 5 highly actionable steps you can use today to build an absolute fortress around your mind. Number 1, use the pause rule. If someone is creating artificial urgency, screaming that you have to act right now, physically or mentally step away. Take a breath. Number 2, analyze their sources. Ask yourself, why do they want me to agree so badly? Number 3, actively seek out opposing views. I know it's uncomfortable, but you have to burst your algorithm's bubble to understand different logical viewpoints, even if you totally disagree with them.
The fourth defense is metacognition. And wow, there is incredible power in simply catching yourself repeating someone else's artificially designed outrage. You really have to step back and ask yourself, wait, why did this post make me so angry? Is this truly my own organic thought, or was this emotion perfectly packaged and handed to me by an algorithm? And finally, number 5, practice conscious solitude. Put the phone down, step away from the screens and the crowds, and just reconnect with your actual internal voice.
And finally, let's look at Section 5, the power of creation. It's really important to remember that a crowd isn't only capable of destruction. It actually holds incredible potential if it's guided correctly. When 3 specific conditions are met, the collective mind can actually rise above the individual. You need voluntary participation without any coercion. You need total openness to criticism and dissent, meaning anyone feels safe to say no. And you need a clearly understood, shared, common goal. This is exactly how brilliant scientific labs, tight-knit jazz ensembles, and top-tier IT teams function. When these conditions align, we don't riot. We build cities, we advance science, and we create breathtaking art. Which brings us to the ultimate litmus test. How do you know if you're being manipulated or truly led? Well, after watching a video or attending an event, do a quick check on your internal emotional state. If you walk away feeling angry, fearful, divided, or like you're somehow superior to others, yeah, you were probably just being used as a tool by a manipulator. But if you walk away feeling smarter, more empowered, open-minded, and tolerant, that right there is the undeniable mark of a true constructive leader.
Bekhterev left us with this chilling warning in his final diary entry over a century ago. He pointed out that the biggest threat to humanity isn't natural disasters or diseases, it's the loss of the ability to think independently. Without that ability, we literally stop being free humans and become mere tools for whoever did retain it. And honestly, in our modern age of AI, algorithms, and just endless scrolling, that insight has absolutely never been more relevant. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final vital question to challenge yourself with the next time you find yourself deep diving into social media. Are your thoughts truly your own, or are you just echoing the crowd? Remember, your mind is your fortress, and you are the only one who gets to decide who is allowed inside. Thanks so much for joining me today to explore the hidden laws of the crowd. Stay curious, stay independent, and always keep thinking for yourself. Catch you next time.